Let's analyse it a little bit more for you now. Our international affairs editor, Philip Turle, is with me here on set. Philip, do just that for us, can you? Analyse it. Tell us what you're hearing is set to be on the agenda and why it's so important.
Okay, well, first for the drone issue, we've seen in recent times how important drones are as a defence mechanism. Not only the Russians using drones into Ukraine, but also Ukraine asking for drones and now manufacturing its own drones and able even to propose to other countries the know-how that Ukraine has developed since the start of the war to help them in fighting against drones. We've seen these Russian drone attacks into use into other European nations, and that is something that Ukraine has been able to offer. The Ukrainians themselves have been saying that they're going to be using about 4.5 million drones over the next 12 months to try to fight off Russian attacks. That's 70% of their attempt to destroy what the enemy is trying to do, the Russians in Ukraine. So that's why drones are such an important issue, as well as these Rafale jets. On the ground, we're in a difficult situation right now for Ukraine because winter is coming. There is fog. We've seen in these reports that we've been showing on France 24 how the Russians are breaking up their offensive into single men running into areas, small groups, because that is easier to get through the drone detection mechanism into Ukraine. And that is something the Ukrainians are finding hard to fight against. And on top of that, there is an issue about the number of men who are available to fight for Ukraine. And Volodymyr Zelensky has been giving out a very basic figure saying, if you look at it this way round, what we're seeing is that for 8 Russian attackers, we have only 1 Ukrainian defender. That's why we need this backup, this support from the West. The second point, I think, which is important to underline here is that we've talked a lot about this coalition of the willing, all these 35 nations who are willing to come together to try to work out how Ukraine can be protected once a ceasefire deal or a peace plan has been signed. I think the feeling now is that basically what we're seeing is that France wants to maintain military aid to ensure territorial integrity, strengthen the military capacity, and provide peacekeeping troops. Those are all parts of what is planned for the coalition of the willing. But there is a shift away from that at the moment because it looks pretty much like Russia's not interested in moving towards any kind of peace deal. The United States has certainly introduced sanctions against Russian oil companies, but Donald Trump has blown hot and cold perpetually since he was elected president of France back in January. And I think there's a feeling that, well, we can't depend on the Americans anymore to try to move towards some kind of peace deal, put the pressure on Vladimir Putin. So the coalition of the willing is up, running, ready to intervene. Volodymyr Zelensky is going to see the headquarters at Mont Valérien in the Paris region today. That's where it is right now. It's going to move to London after a year. It's something that's up and running, but I think the emphasis, as we've seen, is more on what can the West do to provide weapons and ammunition for the Ukrainians, because that's what they really need right now as winter is approaching.
And as you're talking there, Philip, we're continuing to see live images coming into us behind you there from that air base as Volodymyr Zelensky and President Macron are meeting. Of course, a big question mark, Philip, remains, doesn't it, over President Trump and the US's continued role in supporting Ukraine. I mean, how much is this isolating, would you say, Europe?
I think quite profound, to be honest with you, because we had this meeting last month where Volodymyr Zelensky went to Washington thinking he was going to be given these Tomahawk missiles that Donald Trump had more or less said, I'm bored with President Putin, he's not playing the game, he's very nice on the phone, but he never takes any notice of what we've agreed and is carrying on by killing all these troops every day and trying to move into other areas of Ukraine. So yes, we can give these Tomahawk missiles to the Ukrainians. Then there was a phone call between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. Zelensky arrived in Washington, no Tomahawk missiles, basically because Vladimir Putin has said this is not going to change anything on the ground. What it will change is the relationship between Russia and the United States. So don't give those Tomahawk missiles to Volodymyr Zelensky, which is what Donald Trump said he was not going to do. I think the message coming out from Donald Trump right now from the United States is what he said after that talk with Volodymyr Zelensky. Okay, I've told both Zelensky and Putin it's time to stop where they are. Let's both claim victory and let history decide what is going to happen next. That is a red line for the Ukrainians and pretty much a red line also for the Russians right now. So that's why we're in the situation we're in, where Volodymyr Zelensky is going to Greece, to France, tomorrow to Spain, to try to drum up more military support for him in his campaign to fight off these Russian attacks.
Philip, thanks very much, and we'll continue to follow that visit, of course, here on France 24, so stay with us for that.